I'm going to be telling you a little bit about my artwork, painting, etc. I just thought I would show you, while we're inside my little cottage, some of the artwork that I live with that I've done. For example, this badger, which was made on the frame of a broken mirror. I kept the frame and the wood that went behind it and painted upon it, therefore it wasn't wasted. This heart is just painted on normal cartridge paper, and these greyhounds are painted on offcuts of MDF left over from somebody's job. So those three things show you straight away that you can put your artwork on many surfaces. You're not just limited to paper, although if that's all you want to use, that's absolutely fine as well. Being a little bit more unusual, I'll draw your attention to this antler which somebody gave me. It was very, very interesting, celebrating and utilising the shape of that, putting paint and pattern upon it. If you're feeling even braver, like you want to push the boundaries even more, you could do something like a mural. I use that to fill up the high ceilings in the cottage. And that ensures that whenever you're coming in here to sit down, there is always something interesting to look at. This next project I'm working on is going to be for the window display at the Arts Centre. And when I talked to them, I had the idea that I would use this poem, I've just written it out here for reference, get it onto here and do some illustrations around it, so I'm involving both poetry and art. I'm also involving recycling, which, as you may have gathered by now, is my passion. I'm going to be painting on this wood. Now, this section of wood used to be part of a cupboard which was being discarded because it had mainly broken, and I've cut down the section that I want to keep, and it has a couple of pieces of wood on the back to keep it strong, and I'm going to be painting on this wood. The first thing I have to do is I have to put on a base coat, just a very neutral plain light colour, which I can then work on top of. So I'm just going to use just any sort of colour, and I'm just going to start to paint it on. Again, like when you're doing woodwork, it's much easier if you follow the direction of the grain. And I'm just going to continue on with that, and it's probably going to require a couple of coats. So I will see you again after that stage is completed. For this next stage, I'm going to need to paint a white square in the middle of this picture, because if you remember, I'm going to write one of my poems in the centre of this picture. And I just used a normal everyday ruler and just a pencil. I've used a blue pencil because I'd quite like the outsides to be blue, and that means that it should easily cover up with a colour that's very similar. This is my extremely glamorous palette. I have a number of palettes. Obviously this is a palette I use for watercolours, and this is why it never looks clean. I don't think any of my palettes look clean because they're working palettes that are always busy. Now this paint I'm going to use for this project is just acrylic paint. You can get it from anywhere, art shops, Poundland, anything. And I've just put a little bit in the bottom of this palette, and I'm just going to add a bit of water because it can be too sort of stiff to paint with. And I'm just basically stirring that around, and I've got a nice little texture which will slide very easily. Just clean the sides of your brush a little bit because it's always easier to add paint than take paint away. And all I'm going to do is just follow that line. I don't know if you can see from there. I'm going to follow that line. Again, part of the charm of doing things like this is that they aren't perfect. Obviously you're trying to be as neat as possible, but all these little quirks that come into your work are what gives your work personality and charm. So as you can see, I'm just painting along the edges like so, and I'm going to keep the paint running in the same direction, and in the end you'll get a neater job from that. And I'll see you at the next stage. You might have noticed that my palette is an old microwave ready meal dish. There's plenty of people will give you these, and it gives them a second lease of life. It keeps them out of landfill a little bit longer. Do you like this necklace? I made this by covering plastic bottle tops in fabric. The possibilities are endless. We're going to continue with the picture now. I've mixed myself a nice shade of blue, but you use whatever colour you like or what you think fits your project the best. And we're just going to start painting. And I'll see you again in a short time. Because the poem I'm going to illustrate is a celebration of nature as well as words, I'd like to do a background on here that's very organic and natural in feel. So I've just got myself some white paint. I'm going to keep it fairly loose, and I've got a smaller brush this time, and I'm just going to paint the background with some sort of swirly, organic, natural sort of shapes. I think I might be doing this for quite some time. Nice cup of coffee is just what I need. I've now completed the organic, leaf-like, tree-like natural patterns on top of the blue paint. It did take a little while, but it was very enjoyable to do. Very relaxing. Very absorbing. The next thing I have to do is I have to get my poem onto the board. So all I've done is I've counted up the verses. There were 4. So first I divided it into 4, and then each verse has 6 lines. So I've then subdivided each one of the quarters into 6 lines. I've used a pencil and a ruler, just a normal ruler and a normal pencil, and I'll just show you in more detail what I've done up till now. Now what I have to do is I have to get these words onto this board. So I'm going to use my pencil again. Try and write as lightly as you can, but you still need to be able to see it, because if I go straight on here with pen, I might make a mistake that I can't go back from. At least in pencil, I'll be able to see what I need to do. Obviously this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'll see you in a bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to emphasise the first letter of the first line on each verse, just to make it a bit more interesting and also put us in mind of those wonderful illuminated manuscripts. Each word starts with the word imagine as well, so that is ideally suited to this particular idea. I've just got some blue paint. It's the same blue that I used for the background, and a very small brush, and I'm just going to freehand colour those letters in. Doesn't matter if each one's a little bit different. This is your painting and you're doing it, and I really love it when I can see evidence of the artist or the craftsperson's hand and eye and mind and all their thinking and what they've been doing. It makes it a much more personal and interesting piece. And obviously once I've got the basics in, I'll be able to go back and add to these letters if I want to at a later date. There you go. Here we have the completed picture. It's taken about 15 hours in total, and as you can see, I've added a babbling brook with leaping fish, birds, a tree with leaves, and these are all things that are referenced in the poem, which I'll read to you now. Imagine your words. Imagine your words are water, each letter a droplet helping you describe the sound of rain. Imagine rivers flowing from your tongue and sparkling, each noun a leaping fish, each verb a babbling brook. Imagine your words are trees, an alphabet budding the spanning boughs. Imagine sentences of growth, a language of roots tipped with the rustling chatter of leaves, a talk of nesting vowels. Imagine a conversation of forests. Imagine your words are the sun rising no matter how long the night. Imagine telling the brightness of each new day a story of hope warm upon our skins. Speak in tales of shine and shade so that each may hear in scripts of dappled light. Imagine your words have wings so that they can make bright flocks above grey houses. Imagine a peaceful song in flight and feathers. Imagine the sky alive with what you speak.